Med instead of meds. Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. We're going to talk about that little phrase, med instead of meds, by talking to Jan Dougan. She is an educator with Purdue Extension. And Jan, welcome to the show. Med instead of meds. All right, what do we mean by med and what do we mean by meds?
Okay, so it is a tongue twister, isn't it, Bill?
Yes, it is.
Med instead of meds is about eating the Mediterranean way and choosing foods that can help us not only prevent chronic disease, but maybe manage chronic disease also.
Then at least not taking medications.
That's right.
Now, we may think of talking about this as a Mediterranean diet, but it's really not a diet like one of those you're going to lose weight quick diets. It's just your way of eating.
So really it's a meal plan, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of choosing foods that are healthy for us and can help to manage and prevent chronic disease.
Why the Mediterranean way of eating?
So one of the things that we have in our world is called blue zones. And around the world there are pockets of people, and they were identified, these areas, as blue zones where individuals live to be 100 years old. And it's not just a few, it's a lot of people that live to be at least 100 years old. And it's not just that they're 100 years old, they're active 100-year-olds. So they believe in the research that's been done that there are several reasons why people live a longer life, a longer active life in the blue zone areas. But one of the things we know about the Mediterranean area is because of the way they choose to eat.
Okay, and you had some questions you were going to ask me, see if I can answer them.
I did. I do have some questions. So these are some of the things that we would have to do if we want to try to adopt a Mediterranean style of eating. So one of the things we might have to do is change our protein. So what kind of protein do you think would be on a Mediterranean diet?
Fish.
Yeah, there would be fish. So lean protein. So there would be less red meat. There would be some, but less. But there would be more fish and more legumes.
Okay, because I really don't ever think of Mediterranean dishes that are beef. Mm-hmm. They're mostly fish to me.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And legume, what do you mean?
So a
like
bean.
Beans?
Yeah, a bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was half right then because I got fish.
So
and when you say fish, can that be scallops? Can that be shrimp?
Or it can be seafood. It can be seafood. You know, local seafood is best, but that's a real challenge for us here. We don't really have too much local seafood. But really when we, to try to get seafood and try to get seafood into our eating plan at least twice a week is a really good thing.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So what about swap your fat?
Swap your fat. I don't ever think of this as fat. So this is kind of cheating because we talked a little bit off the air about something that I use a lot of, and that's olive oil. And to me, olive oil I don't think of as a fat, but it's a fat.
It is a fat, and it's a healthy fat. And in Mediterranean cooking, you would use olive oil a lot. You would replace it for a number of the other fats that you might use in cooking. So switch to olive oil.
Other fats, meaning what?
What's
another fat?
Canola oil would be another fat. Butter would be another fat. Margarine would be considered a fat. Vegetable oil.
Okay, but olive oil is better.
Olive oil is a better choice.
Because of shows we do, I use a lot of olive oil.
And it's not just for cooking. It would be also using olive oil in salad dressings, replacing it when you can in recipes. Now, it's not always going to be replaced successfully, so you kind of have to know some of those guidelines. But even using olive oil like on your toast instead of butter.
On your toast?
On your toast.
What,
I did the same thing when
weird.
I first thought about it, but I tried it and it's very tasty.
Well, come to think of it, one thing we enjoy doing is getting those, like a sourdough bread, and breaking off pieces and dipping it in a flavored olive oil.
Sure.
It's really, really good. You would think, oh, that's greasy, but it's not.
No.
And that's good for me?
Yeah.
I'm doing something right?
That is good, but in moderation.
Okay, yeah, that's right. We always have to have mindful eating.
That is right. So what about eat more veggies?
Well, that's easy. You eat more vegetables. You eat more cauliflower, broccoli, carrots.
You choose more of those things. And eat more fruit.
Okay.
Yeah. So, one of the things I think people really have a challenge with eating more fruit or eating more vegetables is they first of all think they have to eat fresh. That's not true. You could eat frozen. You can eat canned. Frozen is probably a better option than canned. Seasonal is great. This around here, we don't always have fresh produce available, but when we do, that's also a good option to have. So just think about choosing fruit or choosing vegetables, especially like in between meals for your snack, and then you can get more in.
Okay, this is a crazy question. Is an olive a vegetable? I don't know what that is.
I
know it's not a fruit.
That's what I'm not sure.
We'll have to another show.
We're going to check.
Olives.
We're going to check
yes,
on that.
Okay.
I knew that, but it escaped me right this minute. So the other thing is get more nuts and seeds.
Okay.
So we can get walnuts, almonds, adding those to dishes that we do, pumpkin seeds, pepitas, any kind of seed to add on to things or to incorporate into our cooking and into our dishes, or for a snack, small handful for a snack. So that's another thing we can do.
But the key may be a small handful. You know how hard that is for me to do?
That is true. Don't open that can and keep digging in. That's not the good idea. So then the other thing is change up your grains.
Eat more of the ancient grains?
Yes.
The
so that would
quinoa, and that's all I can think of right now.
And why would we want to choose those ancient grains?
Because they're higher in fiber, or they're more
What's
holy.
the whole? Whole is the word.
Whole. Okay.
You are really doing
whole.
great.
Okay.
You're
Well,
a good
that's because
student.
you've educated me on this show, Jan. That's kind of.
And then the other thing is rethink your sweets. So how do we do that? How do we rethink our sweets if we really enjoy having something sweet?
You mean like you don't eat a chocolate bar?
Well, maybe not the whole bar. How's that? How about just a little piece of chocolate and eat it more mindfully?
Okay, some of that it goes back to mindful eating.
Yeah.
But the Mediterranean way of eating does have foods that people may not normally think of eating, or using olive oil a lot more than you would a vegetable oil or such.
Yeah.
Can you fry with olive oil?
I would not fry. I would saute with olive oil because olive oil does not have a high heat point, so you cannot turn the stove up really hot, or it just evaporates is what happens, and then you find yourself adding more and it just doesn't work. So, sauteing with olive oil is a good thing.
What if somebody doesn't like olive oil? They don't like the taste of it, because it does have a little taste.
Well, I think there's a lot of different kinds out there.
Okay.
And I think it's great to, if you ever are at a place where you can do a tasting, to find, because there are some that are lighter in flavor than others that are heavy in flavor. So you know what? That's something we'll do in the future. We'll do a program on olive oils and how to choose one that you might like. So that would be a great thing.
I think that's a good idea.
So this program, Med Instead of Meds, is from our North Carolina State University land grant within our land grant network, and they have a great website. So if the viewers would just want more information on Med Instead of Meds, they can go just put a search in there in your computer for Med Instead of Meds, and this site will pop up, and there's some great videos on there. There's some great tutorials on there, great recipes. I've tried a number of the recipes that they have, and they're awesome recipes. So it just helps you understand how changing this way of eating can help us stay healthy and become healthier.
So by eating the Mediterranean way of life, I'm going to be healthier, probably more likely to avoid illness, possibly.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a cure-all.
No, it's not a cure-all.
But it will make me a healthier person.
Yes. Well, you know what? I probably should caution and say, I don't know how you're eating right now. But if you're eating like most Americans are eating right now, this would probably be a healthier option.
Now, I think, for some reason in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that means I got to eat a lot of salad. And I don't know why I think that, but maybe it's because there's a salad called a Mediterranean salad. But is that the case, or is it because you mentioned beans?
No, you can eat fruits and vegetables. You can eat salads. You can eat plant-based foods, those whole grain foods. You don't just have to eat greens. There's also, within the Mediterranean style of eating, there's also a high use of herbs and spices to season our things so that, they're more flavorful for us, and not using salt to season our things. The olive oil, of course, as I mentioned, replaces the fats that we use, so that's a healthier choice. And then the seafood that we choose, and trying to incorporate that a couple times a week is important. And of course, then, you can't just do it, that healthy lifestyle, you can't just do it with changing the way you're eating. You also have to change maybe the way you're moving if you're not moving very much. Okay. And I like to think of that as not exercise or physical activity, but just moving our bodies more.
This may sound weird because of what you said. I imagine that in the Mediterranean area and really in Europe as a whole, people walk a lot more than they do here in the United States. We all go to exercise places, but we get in our car and drive to the exercise place and exercise and drive home. And it's harder for us to really walk from where we live to work. They're usually in close proximity, but we could do more walking.
So we could do more walking, and our environment does play into whether we can walk, have safe walking routes, or it's accessible for us to do. But when it's not, then we have to be smarter, and we have to think about, well, how can I put in a few extra steps? Could I park a little bit further away from the door? Could I walk down to the mailbox to get the mail instead of taking the vehicle down to the mailbox if it's a long trip for you? Can I just walk around the house a little bit more a few times? Or when I go to a big box store to buy something, should I just walk the perimeter before I even start to shop? So there's simple ways that we can think about adding physical activity. Even chair activities that we can do when we're sitting. There's lots of ways we can do it. We just have to reframe our thinking and try to do it, try to incorporate it into our day.
All right. Well, Jan, thank you very much. Anything else you want to add about the Mediterranean diet?
I think it's a great resource. I think people will find, if they go to that website and look at what North Carolina State has, it's awesome, the program that they have and the recipes and the tutorials.
Is it okay to do, I'm going to be really Mediterranean 2 days a week, but I'm going to be American the other times, and then slowly start to build up the other way?
Small steps. Anytime we're going to make a change, if we could take some small steps, that's better than not doing anything at all. So if you could eat this style for a couple days, I think what you're going to find is if you start eating like this, you're really going to be enjoying your food, and you're going to want to eat more food like this. And so then it's going to become, a habit, and you're going to be doing it every day all the time.
All right. Well, Jan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Med instead of meds. Mediterranean way of eating instead of ending up taking medication later in life. Jan, thank you for coming in. Jan Dougan has been our guest. She's the Extension Educator with Purdue Extension. Thank you for watching WJTS. We're local people watching local people.